Ready?
Yes.
Good. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to Montreal. I mean, I should have said that yesterday. So some other people said that. Okay. We're very happy to have a crowd like you here in Montreal. Saves on the travel expenses for us. And gives us a chance to share the city with new friends. Sorry. Wanted to say something? My name is Pierre Deschênes, and my friend and colleague Guillaume Coulombe will be talking to you about a project that is hopefully still going on in one of the new hospitals being built in Montreal these days, where we've used Semantic Media Wiki to help us what we call characterize the new challenges of the transition to a new hospital. We'll mention that is the CHUM, which is the teaching hospital for the associated with the University of Montreal. Recently, even today, there's a lot of talks about the sister project, which is the McGill University Teaching Hospital, the PRISM, or MUHC, which is under scrutiny right now for collusion problems, but of course nothing about happened at the show until now, that we know. So I'll just give you a brief introduction of the context, because I've made presentations in my life. I've worked with different contexts, different people, but I've never felt so much out of place as of today. I have no background. I'm an architect, but a real building architect. And even when I've learned with a drawing table, with a T-bar, so AutoCAD did not even exist when I was going to school. Or maybe it did, but not at our school anyway. So this is all brand new to me, and I haven't practiced much of architecture, a little bit, but I fell into project management, and that's what I became. And I was hired on that project as deputy project manager or project director for the project, and quickly became associated director with the transition office. Just briefly, it's a big hospital, 772 individual rooms. I don't know if you're familiar with Montreal, but one of our landmark is an IBM. It's actually the IMP building next to the IBM former building, the Place Ville Marie, this cruciform building here downtown, not far from here. That was built in 1958. It's twice the size of that building, the new hospital, so it's quite big. And 39 operating rooms, over 10,000 rooms altogether. So it's a big thing, and everything's moving from 3 existing hospitals to that hospital. And my English is not good, but at bullseye, not bullseye. I'm trying to make some funny jokes. They wanted to design that hospital with the lean system of pull logistics. So everything starts from the patient, and the patient is pulling services, clinical services, about pulling ancillary services, about pulling support services, about pulling the logistics. So, and it's kind of a reflection also of different, level or cast of people working in the hospital. So we try to keep that in mind, the relationship between the patient, client, or the clinical service client, of the support services that are giving a service to it, and develop an approach based on that. Because you're in Montreal, I decided I kept a few slides in French, just for you. So you feel, I feel when I listen to your P&L and all that stuff. Marcus had a great presentation this morning. I maybe understood 5% of it, but I was excited with the 5% I understood. So we're moving from 3 sites to 2 sites, a brand new hospital, and an old one that's converted into a general hospital. Because right now, the existing hospitals are a mix of specialized, over-specialized, and general hospital, which they shouldn't be, but that's how it is. So people will have to adjust to a new complex. As I said, the logistic is based on just-in-time, pull. Um, People will have to learn new tools. I should have said I was responsible for everything that's non-clinical in the hospital. So all the support services, all the logistics, that was my responsibility. I say was because I'm not there anymore. I left, but that's another story. Maybe it is the same, I don't know. So people will have to learn new tools like an automated system, transport system, little robots that will take trolleys and bring them from point A to point B. Very, very exciting first time in Canada. So that changes the whole way of your workflows are changing, your processes are changing. When you're responsible for support services and logistics, you need to have transversal. You need to have you're everywhere. Basically, you're supporting the whole hospital. So you have the whole hospital as client. You'll see that people talk about functionality in the design as an architect. I'm sure our requirements, as was mentioned before. So we give our partner, I didn't say that it's a public-private partnership, the mode of realization. So you have a functionality that the designer must attain, and you're responsible to make sure that this functionality is embedded in the drawings. But it's also a matter of operational, because the designer might give you drawings and say, these are functional. They may be functional, but they have to be operational in terms of how we work here in Montreal. And we work with the user groups for the different units and departments to help them with what we call operational readiness. And we needed to develop a systemic view of the hospital. So, I'll put that together in a bit easier. So, just a few facts going towards the UNESCO. Like I said, the functional program was divided in 127 functional units, basically modeled on different departments. So, operating theaters, cardiology, care units, you name it, 127 altogether. Aesthetic, 10,000 rooms altogether. Functionality review, we had over 400 workshops. At some times it was 3, 4, 5 workshops at the same time. And as responsible for logistics and support, you can't be all over the place. You know, there's only 1 or 2 persons, so I called GM to come and help. And construction and commissioning, 5 to 9 years. First phase will open in 2016. Process review, there's 300 activity centers in the 3 hospitals. There's a lot of process to be reviewed because the new architecture is different. Operational readiness, that's for 10,000 staff. I don't know how many teams in the 300 activity centers. So all these people need to be ready to move in. And ask the question, is transition just a phase in the linear process? You program, you design, you build, you commission, and then you review a process and you transfer. Is that it? Or you can start transition earlier in the process. I think so. It is good. So I reached that point where I needed a tool to modelize that huge complex. It's a big city. It's amazingly big. I'm from a small town in Western Peninsula. For those of you who know that part of the town, that part of the country, and it's called Macon. Over 13,000 people. And the show is about 13,000 people working there. 70,000 employees, residents, you name them. You know, it's about 13,000. It's like moving the whole town of Macon. And it's not only farmers and fishermen and bakers. You know, it's highly technical and scientific. So it requires a lot of planning. So my request to Guillaume, and that's where I gave him the mic, was to go beyond the embedded functionality in the drawings. It's one thing to say, here's a set of drawings, my friend, this is for your department. They're functional. Good luck. Here's your transition. There's more to it. If they're functional, it's because the user came and looked at it and said, yes, my process I can see them happening. So we need to harvest that knowledge. So the question, the request was to go beyond the embedded functionality of the drawings, of the design, and step into operational knowledge. Assumptions, workflow assumptions, and beyond we'll talk more about it, and issues, there's a lot of issues, of the future state, and therefore paving the way for operational things. I hate that when people read the slides, and I'm doing it right in front of you. It's there, everybody read it already. But it's the semantic wiki is such a great tool to modelize it and have people work at it. But the tool is a tool, and the organization is the organization. So how do you make the organization receive the tool? That's the main subject of discussion we'll have later on. But let's have a look at what we did and what Guillaume and the team, and I wanted to say hello to Johan, Yves, who were part of the team, and Regis, who's doing his PhD, his work on our project. I'm sure you will come with amazing conclusions. So I just wanted to say hello to that. And now you'll see what we've done. And it's a long way from the drawing table. Having these tools to work now, project manager is just amazing. And the thing is to gather the stakeholders around it and have people collaborate in the right manner. There you go again.
So how turn this information in the development plan into answers to questions that different specialists, either about housing, which is quite important in our hospital, I think. It's a base. Nurses and logistics, everyone around the place want to make their head clear about what is going to be this hospital. So, first answer to my first answer to Pierre about how would you like to do this? I said to him, if you oblige me to make it Word in Excel, I'm not going to even consider amendment for you. And I had no clue when I said that semantic media wiki existed, and that was possible to do everything that we did together. So, and I asked this guy, so here's the question. They have about 100 clinical units and clients. They will have about a few dozens of processes that they want to characterize. How are these processes will be delivered, sometimes generically to everyone, or specifically to this particular unit where in psychology you don't have shelves in the corridors because it's a safety issue and everything is enclosed in a specific level. So I started with just a matrix of the client and processes relationships, and I ended up to about 2,000 something relations of service that were asked to me to describe. So and then when we describe a process is not just a set of boxes on a paper or a diagram with arrows and boxes. That's a representation of a process. A process does not grow in a tree either. A process is right now today my definition is it's a collaboration. A process. It has different properties. A process has different activities. They all have, they need stuff to be used. They will produce stuff that has to be clean or that will be garbage. A process, we have risk, health and safety risk for the personnel of the hospital, for the patients also. So how can we turn these plans that are supposed to be able to realize, to support the realization of processes into knowledge? So it's pretty much one of the first actually models we started where we characterize. I'm going to show you around for the next 8 minutes a bunch of different models we developed. I think we put pretty much the least to 8 minutes. I have this local here. One question: there will be an automated transport system in this hospital. In a culture where you have the linen department that are used to take the linen out of the truck almost themselves, bring it up to the 19th floor, unpack it, and then go back down with the car. When you talk to them and say, okay, there will be a team receptioning the linen, they will put it on a cart, they will send it automatically, it's going to ride around the place for a few hundred meters, and it's going to take the elevator by itself, and it's going to be dropped into this specific local hit. The people from the linen department, they say, how can we synchronize with this? And same thing for the logistics, same thing for the pharmaceutics, medication. And so we started to modelize the infrastructure by itself. This is a plan. It has a type of plan. It shows the bâtiment principal, different L wings. And we see the units that are shown on that plan, and we have also, so we're gonna, and we have different locals that we like, that have their own page, so I'm going to see you how a page is, how a page from the category local is working. We've been able to get to the point to see everything that goes in here. We characterize not only the process, but we characterize what the process needs as a content we need to for the process, and we started very generically for the healthcare processes, saying the healthcare process of the unit number 1.19. They will use that quantity of linen. Eventually, we would go further and measure the consumption. We measure the consumption with an average, but we would add the écart type. Standard deviation. So because in a pull system, you don't do like, okay, I'm gonna use that much of linen or of everything a day. You measure it. Where you go down to the hour, you measure the variability, and you adapt your process to this knowledge. With that, you can aim towards operational excellence. So we have a bunch of queries here. This one is not working because it has only like seven layers of query. But we are able to, and it's a bit small from there. So we see we see different quantities of stuff that goes out of this local and stuff that goes in, and we did not qualify this page one line at the time. It's just a bunch of queries that ask quite effectively what we inputted to the thing. So to be able to go to this page, and we know like the segment de trajet, the parts of a trajet, the path segment that starts from there or go away from there. So we know what's the distance between this logistic lobby and the different places where we would put the linen, where we would put the furnitures at each end of the wings, because people want to know how many people I will need to carry around linen on these floors, depending on how big it is. So we went to develop, like this is linge blanc, this is linen. So we developed this page where we use semantic internal object to determine the path of each of the parts of the trajectoire of the path. So it starts to the linen cleaning place all over the few kilometers away, and it goes to where it's going to be put as a point service, a service point. And then when we go to one of these segments, this one is that is from the logistic lobby to the alcove lingerie. We have all these different possibles that are unique segments that have their own semantic properties, like from where it starts to where it ends and what distance it has. I'm going to go to the 19th floor, south wing. And when you think of it, is that this one is to go to one point, to stop at 5 other points, and to stop. It's 205 meters, so it's quite a long walk, and it has an impact on the cost of the hospital. That is going to of what is going to be the cost to plan. Will I work from the center point to each point like this, or will I do a route? And can I imagine myself mixing the content in a context where my linen is my unit, my furniture are my unit? We have to make the people think that might be cost effective to share the content.
When you say furniture, you mean furniture, you mean supplies.
Yeah, supplies, sorry.
Supplies.
We're not furniture movers.
Moving desk and chairs around,
So we are able to know that on this specific, this is what is going to have to be carried around with an average quantity. So if I go to, and this is a service point, and if I go to this page here, it's a specific content for one unit, then I'm going to be able, a few things would have been to develop, but I know this specific content of linen that has to go to this specific room. This is automated queries that will decide from where and how long it's going to take when the truck leaves the linen cleaning to go to the reception and to go up to the floor. So this is all answers to people. How will it cost to me? I have the distance. Now I would need the speed, but I have an agent that is characterized with a speed, with a mode of walking, or walking with a cart or walking with no cart. We all segmentize these operational planning structure. So that's about for the working the material flow. We have here a page, landing page for a unit. This is 0705, it's just a code, but this is house cleaning. So landing page, the risk of safety, health and work risk, explosion, manipulating unsafely biomedical waste. So we work with health at work specialists to develop the models of how to characterize the risk, how to characterize what are the consequences. Some consequences sometimes are other risks, and why we could see this, and what are and all the different levels of prevention that we can apply to these risks, and then making it accessible, because we will characterize that either a type of content like biomedical waste as a risk or an activity as a risk. Then we can be very efficient characterizing only once the information about that risk and the prevention of the method. And after that, when you connect it to the locals of where is located this activity, and what are the risks happening on this local, then we can know easily if we have to put little signs to prevent and to remind to the people to prevent that risk. So it's very it's intending to make those answers very precise and efficient. So we know from who each unit is client, the processes that they have to characterize and they have to plan. We were planning to go to a level of measurement of how ready all the teams are using those things.
If I may interject, the interesting thing here is usually in the transition process like that, after all the drawings are done, then you call the safety officers to look at it and make sure that the risks are covered. But here, they have their own chance to input all the risk and the wiki and work from risk to risk. So every time you see that, or every time you see this line in blue as a risk, then there's a page about that risk, and you can query which type of content, which processes, which unit, which path, and so on and so forth that are associated with that risk. So the safety officers just went into that, and they were like, kids in the candy store, and this I love. It's the first time we're able to jump in early in the process and people information on our specific pages, and then when someone, because these are the key words, the key elements here that these are the units, the 127 units in the program. Well, if I'm responsible for cardiology, then I have my own page and I can fill in my information and describe my processes and the risk associated, and they're already there because people work on that. So it's an amazing tool for that.
So just to finish and wrap up, here is a pretty important table, which are the issues that are related to this specific unit. So they have their own dashboard of knowing what they have to work on to be eventually ready. So that's a pretty long list for them. Although you want to have a long list in the beginning of the project, not when you will be having new patients move the day after, because we don't the people that move around hospitals from a new facility to another, from an old one to a new one, they don't do it in 6 months. They do it usually as quick as they can. Sometimes 300 rooms can be moved in only 1 day. So the tactic level of readiness that is to be achieved is very important to work, but at the beginning of the pathway, you cannot bloom in the cracks of the floor.
And the traditional project management, or the traditional linear project management, which is maybe not the best suitable way to do a complex project like that. Anyway, that was the way the approach that should. People wait until drawings are completed, signed and sealed and stamped, and then people can start looking at their process review and transition. But what we did is we wanted to, along every time we had workshops, we had this knowledge around the people. We wanted to harvest that knowledge and put it there, and so we built that knowledge along the way. And if I'm responsible for cardiology today, and I say, well, this design is great, it's going to be functional, and then I move to my career somewhere else or a new place, and the new director may have a different way to look at things, and then we don't want to make these changes because they're very expensive. So this knowledge is not about person or the type of person there. It depends on how you like it. Personally, it's really corporate knowledge, institutional knowledge, and it builds along the way. So Guillaume will show you the issues, because when there's such a big change, a lot of issues are there. I mean, yes, we will be able to integrate this automated transport system, and instead of pushing carts, now we'll receive carts, but my responsibility with the linen starts from down there when the trucks arrive. So what am I going to do? So this is an issue. I'm going to collaborate with my colleagues. So we open an issue page, and the issue will be labeled, and we follow a Lean Six Sigma approach, which is do, A times D, define, measure, analyze, implement, control. Um, widely applicable in the world. And then you identify all the people who connect, all the departments and units connected to it, and then that page becomes the location, the place for people to discuss that issue and solve it before you move into the concept. So, an issue is knowledge. Problem is knowledge. Knowing the problem is the first step.
Yeah, and it made people very, very like, okay, we can put our problem there. Finally, somebody seems to be listening to us instead of blah, blah, blah. It was we saw people mobilized doing so. Not everyone in that place. We have to admit it. It was very, very challenging from different people. We heard answers like, oh, but these people, they are on the bottom of the pyramid, they want them to be heard, so that's why they collaborate with this. But at the same time, when you look at them, they are quite the most important in the place. So the politics and the hierarchical attitudes were very confronting our work. I want to thank you, people working on the data import. The data import was very helpful to us, and even sometimes Johan and I, we were saying, oh, it would be cool that this functionality would improve, and then sometimes we saw it improve exactly as we wanted to. So that was just marvelous to demonstrate the value of semantic methodology to bring all these answers. I've been stuck in the mandate because of a deficit in the hospital in a moratorium from the government that was placed on the prolongation of contracts. That's pretty much unfortunate. Good thing is that I dealt with them, that I keep the knowledge of the models, semantic models, and as I was saying yesterday, I dumped old version already. Everything is in infrastructure almost, but we work to develop curating processes to develop these infrastructure management models to share it all in the world. Yes.
So that's the exciting part, and I thought I was an experienced project manager, and I see it all, and I got so excited with the project that I think I made all the mistakes the project manager should avoid. I didn't realize when the scope changed. I didn't get my sponsors commitment. I didn't obtain the resources I needed. I did everything wrong, and I lost my job. But the wiki is still there, and we hope that it's going to start. But I just want to. The triple thing is stuck in my mind. So I want to show you the triple challenge and the insight we have. So there's the wiki access, this new tool. It's a challenge, you know. It's a different way to work, to collaborate. That's the characterization that's the word that Guillaume pinpointed in the exercise of developing a model of how this actually will function, will operate in the future. It's complex. And then there's the change axis. We wanted to start from the future state. Never mind how people work today. Let's focus on how we're going to have to work in the future and find our way there. So these are three axes, and so between the future state and the status quo, and change management and change resistance are serious realities. And so we sold something like that. You know, we said, well, the wiki can be basically everything, but you need to work a lot, and you need resources. And we can characterize at a high level, you know, not in details. We don't want to put procedures there. And we start with the future state. But what we got was really this. You know, we put the wiki as minimal we could make it close to the status quo, and people wanted us to go to the procedures when you can get the big picture of the process. That compact notion, I think, is important. Compact, like a contract and a pact between people. We heard that name. We were in a Lean Six Sigma seminar in New Orleans, and people from Seattle, from the Virginia Mason Hospital, which is like the holy grail of the Lean Six Sigma applied into healthcare in the States. They were the first one in Seattle. So the board, you have the president of Boeing, the president of Toyota. They know about Lean Six Sigma, and they said the hospital should be applying these products. So the compact is basically a win-win. What is the win column for the organization? What is the win column for the doctors, the employees, for everybody else? So I knew about it, but I forgot about it. And I think I put a few ideas here. They're not. It's not complete really, but I think you were talking about risk aversion yesterday, and I think that to diagnose the risk attitude of the organization is very, very important, because I found out that that organization was very risk averse. They just don't want to hear about it. So that's very important, because they'll let you go until you don't want to hear about it anymore. So, and then you have to decide on an implementation strategy of your wiki, I think. I mean, this is our experience. This is my experience. So maybe, I think at MITRE, you're in a great organization, and they're open to that, and they understand. But I with the hindsight, I would think maybe we should have kept the box as a black box in behind, not as a crystal box where collaboration is the nirvana, and people will work together and embrace each other and go on. The culture wasn't there. So the implementation strategy is very important. And then obtaining loud and clear commitment from the sponsor is so key. So key. As long as we were limited to the support services and the logistics, we were fine. But when the CEO of the hospital started a weekly, he said, hey, that's what we need for the clinical side as well. We need that for the whole hospital. I said, yeah, it's going to cost between 5 and 8 million. Never got 1 cent more. Never. And even what we got, we lost. So clearly define the scope of the semantic quality performance and have it endorsed by sponsor. It's so key. I forgot about it. People were talking about requirements yesterday. Requirements are one thing, but the scope was like, hey, this is great, and it's open source. It doesn't cost anything. Well, you need brain power too. You need people to work on it. We didn't get a commitment to obtain all the necessary resources. That's a long story. We won't get into that unless you ask me questions. And active leadership in promoting the collaborative process and endorsement from all silos. We were talking about silos. So key. So key. Because collaboration, I know this was, I respect your work, you respect my work. You may be wrong, I may be wrong. I won't tell you, you won't tell me. That's collaboration. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that's my contribution to you. I think you should put that on every semantic wiki media, so people know what they're going to do. I'll let you read it, because I hate reading it when it's there. I have fun yesterday doing it. I thought, okay, what are my lessons learned? So you have them there.
Do you have a copy of this somewhere for the? Great.
So I'm selling this $100 a piece because I have to put meal on my family's table. But no, just kidding. This is my contribution as a layman, and I love the product. I really love it. But it's not about the product. It's about how you integrate it into an organization, and how the culture enables you to go as far as you can. And having to do it again, I would say, okay, let's work on how far you guys are willing to go, and we'll go that far. And we won't promise everything. Because every time they were, can the wiki do that? Yes, the wiki can do that. Or could do that. If you put the resources, yes. But if you think that 4 days out of 5 in a week for Guillaume, plus 3 months from Johan, and a couple of days of either and there, and Mike chipping in on a few things, and the way people collaborated. Some people went in there, they were champions, they put time, they loved it. But it was perceived, like Guillaume said, as, oh, Asian people, yeah, well, we need that, you know, and they'll do anything to please you. No, they collaborate, you know. Like security officers, same thing. You don't need to, they need the people who need love, they'll work with them, you know, because it's about collaboration. So, anyway.
In my ideal,
I'm still a bit angry about the experience, but has nothing to do with the tool. It's still using it. That's
I'm part angry, I'm part hopeful. The idea is to find a next terrain of a next place to practice this, and eventually look at what could be the functionality during interaction with different hospitals, and harvest knowledge along those cases. But my conclusion is still that Word and Excel won't be the last practice of working with computers and the day-to-day deliveries that we see humanity. We go forward. We go further away. Thank you.
Any questions? Oh,
I had a little, very little email from the comment section, but they said because of budget constraints, they are adapting the strategy and the wiki will not be used in this specific form. I hope so, because it was on progress prototyping form that we showed them. But so for the final, I haven't said my last word on that. Your input, I think this conference helps me to how we can approach this and work. Where can we put it as a constructive tool for a public system? So, who wants to buy this? That's the challenge.
The question?
How do I do this? What do I do? Oh, I might not have any of those. Yes, do you have the open office or yes. Okay. I can just get it from my keyboard. What? I don't really have anything on this thing. I don't know. Nothing? There's a bunch of things, but I don't know if any of them are appropriate. Nothing? Oh, yeah. Okay. No, it's ready. Okay, cool. Put it to your drive out. Oh, it works? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool. Where's the webcam thing? It's all over there. Okay. Hello. Hi everyone. Josh. After that last talk, I don't know if I should, bring you guys down any further. That was both inspiring and a little depressing, but hopefully inspiring at the end. I just want to know. Well, okay. Actually, forget that. So my talk is about what semantic forms won't do. My name is Yaron Koran. I'm a MediaWiki and Semantic MediaWiki developer, entrepreneur, consultant, poster, author, and evangelist. And I've been working on this stuff since 2006. I'm based in New York City. And over there, here are logos for my the consulting company I run, WikiWorks, which is general MediaWiki consulting with an emphasis on semantic MediaWiki. And my book, Working with MediaWiki, which I've just updated recently. I actually, just a little plug, I brought a few copies with me. I'm selling them at a discount. Once they're on, I'll sign it if you want. So yeah, okay. So semantic forms is it's the first MediaWiki extension I wrote. It came out in 2007. It's also the first semantic MediaWiki extension. It beat out the second one by a few months. And it's as far as I know, it's the most popular semantic MediaWiki extension. It's in use on about 80% of sites that have SMW installed. So what does it do? I guess you heard about it in the tutorial yesterday if you didn't know about it. But it's a framework for creating and editing wiki pages that hold structured data via semantic templates, i.e. Infobox style templates that use semantic tags to encode their data. So forms are defined via wiki pages. Every form has its own wiki page, and then uses a custom scripting language to later define those forms. So that's the basic explanation of semantic forms. But wait, there's more. It does a bunch of other stuff. It also lets you create all the elements of a data structure, properties, templates, forms, and categories via helper forms like special, create, property, etc. It lets you create red linked pages automatically via forms again. So you just put in a property pointing to a page that doesn't exist, and if you set it up right, that page will get created. It lets you create forms for querying the data, so that the output of the form, if you use special run query, is not saved to a page, but rather is just displayed on the screen so you can put in the query. It lets you edit page sections, and I'll get to that a little later, but that's yet another thing you can edit besides template columns. Yeah, so it does a lot, and the list of features is still growing. There's a roadmap that you can view at this URL, and have it here somewhere. Well, anyway, is it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, anyway, there's a bunch of planned features. So basically, just so you know, it's not in stasis. It's still growing, and it's still accepting a lot of user feedback and patches and so forth. But it won't do everything. I thought I'd pick an image that's apropos. So this is Dudley Do-Right, a heroic Canadian mounted police officer. So there are some often requested features that probably won't get done. So I thought I'd go over them, and maybe we'd have some discussion about them. Yeah, I'll just go through these one at a time. The first one that people have asked about since almost the beginning is using forms for emailing. You want to have a contact form in your wiki, and so you have a set of fields that you want people to fill out. So the obvious thought is, well, why don't I use semantic forms for this? Because there's already a framework here for creating all these forms. It's tricky to do, and I don't think it's a good fit because output of semantic forms is template calls, which then get changed into HTML, and with emails, you just want to display. You presumably just want to send out plain text, so that's tricky. But thankfully, there are various extensions. It looks like the most stable one right now is called Form Mailer, that lets you do something similar to what Semantic Forms does, but with email. Mix and match template. This is something people have asked about. So something relevant to a conference. You might want to have a page about one day at a conference where the main template might be called Conference Day, and then for each talk you have a separate template called representing the details of that talk. But you want to put it in chronological order, so there'll be a lunch break and then more talks, and that sort of thing. Semantic Forms doesn't allow that. You have to group templates of the same kind, the same name together. It would just be too hard to implement that kind of thing where people can arbitrarily put template calls in among other template calls, and the reason for that is that if things get out of order, the form won't know what to do with the calls and so forth. I mean, the logic to handle all that stuff is pretty complex and sort of inscrutable even to authors. The alternative really to that sort of thing is just to rethink or simplify your data structure. If you put a time, for instance, in this case, if the idea is to sort them by time, if you put a time value for each of these, then you could just keep all of these outputs hidden and put in a query to display this data in the correct chronological order. Yeah. Number 3, improving partial forms. I don't know how many of you have heard of this thing. It used to be a bigger feature. It's still mentioned in the documentation, but I've definitely reduced the focus on it. And actually, I'm planning to get rid of these altogether. So briefly, what partial forms are forms that let you edit just one template. It's actually one or a few templates, but it's not everything on the page. So it's especially useful when you have some sort of unusual page structure. So, for example, we could have a page about an actor where there's the main information and then some free text about the biography, and then structured text about their film roles, and then some more unstructured text. So, if you just want to edit the film roles, you might want to have a partial form that you just click on. It wouldn't be the main form tab, it would just be something small on the bottom or on the side that let you just edit those template calls. So people have used that. I think the better thing to do, and the thing that will probably be a feature, I mean, the thing that will last even if partial forms get removed is what I call pseudo-partial forms. They're forms that mimic partial forms, but actually they contain the entire page structure. So let me show an example of that. Oh, I don't have an example. Okay, I deleted that slide. Well, let's do that. The idea is that, for instance, for this previous thing, you would have it would start with for template actor, but then right after that would be end template, the tag again if you know the syntax. So there'd be no fields for the actor template. You would use a section tag for the biography, and then you would have, but you would keep that hidden. I'm sorry. You would have tags for the two free text things. They would be hidden. Then you would have the film roll stuff, and that would actually be displayed within the form, and that should work fine. The advantage of that is it works even if there are 0 instances. Even if there are no film rolls at the moment, it'll still work on the partial forms. And it's also better from a developer perspective since it lets me simplify the code structure. Okay, this one is interesting. This is maybe the thing that comes up the most. Modifying page titles based on a page name formula. So if you know about page formulas, the idea is that people can enter just the standard set of fields for a page, and then the page name gets dictated based on what they've entered when they save. So for instance, you have a form for restaurants. You just enter Pizza Palace for the name, and for the city you enter Chicago, and then when you save it, it sets the name to be Pizza Palace in Chicago. So that's all well and good, but then what happens if the restaurant name changes? It changes within the page, but the page name itself will stay the same. So you'll need to make two modifications, which of course can lead to contradictory data. So the solution for that would be complex. It would involve polling every time there's a page change to make sure that this page doesn't have a formula corresponding to it, and if the formula doesn't dictate that now the page name should change. It's doable, and if anybody wants to contribute this, it would be cool. It would be a lot of work. So this is more like it won't be done anytime soon kind of thing. The alternative is the replace text extension, which lets you do a global search and replace. And that's generally better anyway because it lets you change that value both within the page and within the page title and within any links to that page, and so forth. That's that. Number 5, dynamic forms. This will make more sense with the example. This is the most obvious usage of dynamic forms is let's say you have a bunch of quizzes that you want to put on your wiki where you specify the question, then a set of answers for each one of them. So that's an obvious usage for forms, but then you want to have 20 quizzes. Ideally, you just create one form and then it pulls the semantic data. Somewhere else you store this is question A, and these are the answers for A, this is question B, these are the answers for B, and it dynamically creates the form on the fly based on that semantic data. That would be cool to have. It would just, again, be very complex to implement, and I looked into this briefly. Just everything right now within semantic forms is based around the idea of hard-coded template names, field names, and text. And hard-coded, maybe most importantly, hard-coded number of fields. So the only real alternative is just to hard-code all forms. So if you have 20 questions, 20 quizzes, you have to create 20 forms. So that's the down stuff. On a more positive note, this doesn't technically fit into the topic of the talk, but just so you know, there is stuff that is happening. There are improvements coming to autocompletion, and this is sort of breaking news. It's not really breaking news if you're following, but there's a Google Summer of Code project that just started this week. We have a student who's working on improving autocompletion within semantic forms. So I'll show you what I mean. Just briefly, a history of the JavaScript and semantic forms. We started out using a library called Scriptaculous. Then the next year we moved to YUI, which is the Yahoo JavaScript library, along with Floatbox for pop-up windows. Then in 2010 we moved to jQuery as MediaWiki moved to jQuery, and also jQuery UI, which is a sister library, and FancyBox for pop-ups. Last year, Dynatree was added for category selection, and then finally, this year, hopefully, we're adding Select 2, which will take the place of some of the jQuery UI stuff, specifically for autocompletion. And let me show you here. This is a really cool library, and it's becoming. I don't know if it's could be called a standard, but it's certainly something that people talk about on a regular basis as far as autocompletion is concerned. some of this is similar to stuff that already exists in semantic forms. This is, well, right, that was just a drop down. But this is like a combo box, like the combo box input where you can type in stuff and you get a set of choices, but you can also do things like having headers for different values. And then this is the other really important part, multi-value boxes. You can do that now in autocomplete and semantic forms by just typing stuff in and it autocompletes on each one. But this does what I guess is become known as tokenizing, where each value you enter gets its own box, and that you can see that in Gmail, and it's starting to show up in a lot of user interfaces on the web. And that just makes it nicer in terms of seeing discrete values, so you don't have to worry about comma delimiters and all that kind of stuff. And then you can easily remove things, and it's a lot more obvious what's going on. So those are the two big things, but there's a bunch of other functionality that Select 2 provides that hopefully we can get to this summer, and if not, then later. Let's see, what are some of the other cool things on this demo page? Oh yeah, you can have you could do this already. Semantic Forms didn't, but hopefully now with the Select 2 we'll be able to do this. Display embed an image with each selection. So here they have the state flag of each of each state. But if you have a drop down of employees, you could have a little avatar or something, or a photo of each person, and that sort of thing. This one is that one's not very exciting. Oh yeah, remote data. This could potentially be very interesting. There's a feature here where you just type in you start typing in strings, and it autocompletes on all movies from the Rotten Tomatoes API. I think it's just slow right now. But well, hopefully this will show up at some point. What? Oh, the request limit? Oh, okay, okay. Well, I guess a lot of people are looking at this demo. Oh, okay. Right. Well, that's this API. There is very limited functionality like this already in semantic forms, but it's limited. The thing that you're accessing has to be in a very specific JSON format for it to work at all. And here it seems a lot more flexible as far as the kind of structures of APIs it's willing to access. So that could be really cool as far as integrating your wiki with the outside world, with all these data sources out there. From Wikidata to Wikidata on. Let's see. There's one other thing I want to show. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know why this is a special feature as opposed to a default thing, but yeah, with this tokenizing thing, you can drag and drop values to easily rearrange them too. Which is cool. So I think that's what I wanted to show as far as Select 2. There's just a bunch of cool features to this, so that's something I'm looking forward to. And yeah, that's it. If anyone has any questions or maybe more complaints about what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, I know somehow already that on visual package.
Yes, definitely. That's not in this list. It would be great to add support for it. The official line of theirs is that it's not ready for usage outside of Wikipedia yet. I mean, in order to use Visual Editor, you have to use the latest version of that and the latest version of MediaWiki. There's no stable version yet.
That's not entirely true, but you can make supporting it for one thing.
Okay.
Other media.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's now.
Has one, but 123 hasn't come out yet.
As well, or two.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Yeah. Yeah. So when that does happen and when there's a stable version, I definitely want to add that. And maybe it could have been done already. I mean, certainly people are using it successfully outside of Wikipedia already. But I haven't looked into it. I hope not. I don't know. It shouldn't be. I mean, it's just a bunch of JavaScript, I think. I don't know. Famous last word.
Yeah, famous.
Okay. Well, let's see then. It would be great to have it. I mean, Semantic Forms supported FCK editor / WYSIWYG back in the day, back when that was a viable option. It would be great to have this thing, which is better.
Well, I guess I'm probably wrong with this, but rather than just thinking about it, the person has called the form, he has seen that form to use this to others, to do things with
Yes. Well, that's an interesting question. I can't imagine that would happen. But Visual Editor has its own template editing ability, or it will, where you click on a template call and a little pop-up form shows up that just lets you enter in a value for each field, and it knows ahead of time what the fields are going to be. It's a different approach to editing structured data than Semantic Forms is. I think they're just useful for different things. Certainly for stuff like editing, reference tags. If you've ever done any Wikipedia editing and tried to put in a reference, that's a pain. And Semantic Forms can't handle stuff like that because specific arbitrary template calls embedded within free text. But that's something that the Visual Editor template call module or whatever can handle quite well. If there aren't more questions, I wanted to show something else too if there was time. Cool. Easy crowd. So this is completely unrelated, but I just released this extension last week, so and I haven't publicized it that much, so I thought I'd mention it. It's the site settings extension, and it provides a graphical interface to let you modify the wiki's settings, the kind of stuff that you need to edit in local settings.php right now from within the wiki. There's an extension called Configure already that's been around for a long time that does essentially the same thing, but this one is structured a little differently, and I think it's a nicer interface. So you can see here, this is how it looks in use on my wiki on DiscourseDB. It's only available to administrators. So it just provides different tabs. I don't know how well you can see this. It just provides different tabs where you can edit different aspects of the settings and upload a logo and a fab icon and all that.
How are you storing the
It has its own database table.
do you get modular and say someone wanted
What is that?
Anyway, it's faster than.
Oh, I see. No, it's intended for, uses a relational database.
Well, I just want to say I love you. Because this is awesome. The configure thing was abandoned.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I have nothing to say to that. Thank you. Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great to hear. The sentiment is.
Takes some time
Yeah.
to get it through.
Yes, and yeah. Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, I know there've been problems with configure, so I wasn't sure like how much demand or potential demand there was for this kind of thing. I just want, yeah, okay. So I wanted to know. So this is how it looks. It basically, by default, it has a bunch of hooks to let other extensions add their own settings to this. This is all just standard core MediaWiki stuff. So actually, on Referata, the wiki farm that I run, site settings is derived from code that's been running on Referata for a long time. So here, there's a bunch of hooks that hook into it for various things. Here, there's a whole tab just for semantic MediaWiki settings, or just for a few settings from the different SMW-based extensions. So this is all just on Referata, but I'm hoping to get these hooks into the relevant extensions so that you just need to have site settings and these other things installed, and this will get those additional settings automatically. And then the next step after this is to release the Wiki Garden extension. Speaking of Wiki Farm stuff, although I don't think it will compete directly with the stuff that the Miter people were talking about before. As far as I know, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff you can do with Wiki Farms. The Wiki Garden thing basically lets you do something like what Referata does, where it's sort of intended for public-facing wikis, where you want to run a Wiki Farm like Referata or something topic-specific or whatever it is, and want to let people just create their own wiki just automatically, where you just say, let me see if I can show this. Where you can just say, this is the, well, anyway, you can. There's a form where you just fill out where you say, this is the subdomain I want of referata.com, and this is the name I want for the wiki. You hit submit, and it creates the wiki. That's all powered by code that I put into an extension called Wiki Garden that is hopefully coming out soon, and it ties in heavily to site settings. Because that's how it stores all of the settings for that site. I mean, you can't obviously let everyone who creates a wiki edit local settings.php. So this is really the only interface that people have to configuring their own wiki. So yeah, so when you have a bunch of wikis together, the site settings database table also holds the name of the wiki and the name of the administrator and all that kind of necessary data in order to get this kind of thing working. So yeah, hopefully soon that will complete it. But not yet. Okay. So those are all my plugs. Oh yeah.
I have a question for you. As somebody who develops extensions, is it important to have them on MediaWiki.org?
Yes.
Do you mean MediaWiki.org? Do you mean the documentation?
Yeah, like being able to put your extension, you can find it, learn more about it, and download it.
I would say that's important, yes.
Okay. I just want to clarify, thank you. There was somebody in the room who tolerated nameless who built a really nice extension using natural language processing.
Oh, I see.
I was thinking maybe that might be a good idea. I don't want to call him out. Thanks.
Looks like I've walked into a minefield.
Sorry.
I thought you were going to ask about putting your code, whether to put your code on the Wikimedia Git server. That's a whole other story. Yeah. But in general, I'm very used to using Wikimedia's infrastructure for all of this. some people have moved to GitHub. I like I'm staying.
What about the time for the questions? Or we can do it
Anything? All right, thank you.
Yeah, can we get a copy of I'm not really I know, Where's the stuff from? So, yeah. This is for the it's not the same as that. This is male. This is male also.
There you go. Good pay, yeah. Very passionate and always.
Right. Yeah. 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 Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's one of my favorite. Yeah. So the point is putting this lot of URL on the screen, and then basically but so page so you put in next and this this week then you do well, yeah, you know, it's very convenient. Yeah.
and just a bit about as well, how we're going to communicate as well. Yes. So this will be a yes. So I can start talking to them, but I'm not sure if you're using like a software in a minute. Let's see, something called Oh yeah, no.
That's what I was asking.
This is the work. This is the The purchase is not entirely different. But for that's something. Two things that yeah, it's a beautiful to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, creating that one, so able to feed everything like
Yeah. Well, I don't need to. Well, certainly, probably, depends how you want to do it. Have a very CEO or say what you need. And Yes. No. Hello everyone, my name is Cesar. I work at SMWCon in the music administration team. This week, well, I registered as soon as I was aware of the conference, and I think it was last week that they invited me to make a presentation, and I said yes, nothing really quite what I was getting into. Considering the quality of the presentation I've seen so far. First of all, I should be honest with you, we don't use semantic functions right now. What I'm going to do is maybe a case study of a property that is on the brink of going semantic. Certainly, we have all that's needed to do that. So I'll start the presentation and you will see what I mean by that. Okay. Okay. First of all, the name we selected reflects the domain of knowledge that you have to leverage to operate a company like SMWCon. So the wiki is used to document all aspects of the operation of the company. It can be reading, it can be administrative, it can be user. So basically, all that encompasses the operation of SMWCon is documented as we go when we need it. I should state that since I work in music, I will restrict discussions to the domain of music knowledge, because first of all, that's my experience, and I prefer to restrict discussions to that. Music, well, just make sure that I follow the that's what I was thinking. Every time you come back from the break, the connection breaks, so I will actually perfect. Just one moment. No, it's not a problem. It's just that I had to do remove the connection. Why that is. No. Okay.
Well, it's not formatted as it should be because usually it's much better than that. I don't know what happens. Sorry? How do you do that? Control mouse? I don't have them. Oh, minus turn. Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a bit small? Yeah, one like that? Perfect. Okay. So this is the portal, the music portal that I created. Within the music domain, we have several subtopics: administration, authors, composers, and publishers, contents and products, definitions and dictionaries, history. We have a description of several music instruments, description of all the music works, that over the span of 30 years of operation. Some articles that are useful for the correct pronunciation of certain words in certain songs. All the CDs that were created at SMWCon are there in the domain 9. All the protocols. We have to make sure that all titles are properly entered into the wiki, because SMWCon, being a set, uses whimsical song titles or show titles, and we have to make sure that all accents, which most often at any meeting, they are just there to beautify the title of the show or the song, but we need to document that as well. We have protocol to enter all those song titles that have whimsical accents, and some more useful links, external, internal is just but external to wiki design. Okay, this is the portal for the music services. Okay. Okay, music articles account for nearly 50% of nearly 5,000 articles within the city. This is understandable because back in 2009, I was into the tool by the knowledge architect that we had at SMWCon. First of all, there were no music articles, and there was only a basic skeleton of knowledge within the wiki, and it was a project. It was not. It was something that was used only as an experiment, but I saw myself all the benefit I could the service team get from such a tool, because all the music knowledge that we had at SET was very what's the word? Éparpillé. Anyone? Scattered, exactly. We had knowledge on paper, contracts, agreements, and knowledge in emails. All emails together date back to the year 2000s or 2000s. We have knowledge in absolute databases. And when I saw that, I saw immediately the immense benefit that we picked up from that. So I petitioned the knowledge architect to become an editor, because at first only a handful of person could enter articles in the database. And you recognize my enthusiasm. So I became part of the secretary at SMWCon, And I petitioned the committee to be open, to give access to all employees to become writers of articles because if we wanted to make the experiment successful, we needed to democratize, of course, the access in writing, not just in reading, but in writing within sector. And in time that happened. Now everybody at Secretary can write an article. Just interesting bit of information, just because of the bulk of knowledge that I entered in the wiki. I'm by far the most active secretary with your secretary, just to show you.
Well, another question and like the action. Two research question
Well, what does that mean? I don't know. Also, in some more tech-savvy users will appear in binding to make the tool more useful for SIP in general. Besides the fact that I'm the most active user, there is still a vast amount of knowledge within the wiki regarding reading or specific knowledge. So I'm not that pessimistic about it because it's useful when it's mostly inactive besides music, right? Okay, the initial move back in 2009 was to centralize our music knowledge. I showed you this one already. Facilitate that, of course, access to our music knowledge. Mine, our music catalog. What does that mean? I remember clearly a few years ago, one of our artistic directors contacted me because I have infinite knowledge within his culture, so I can ask me the following question. And I need to find a song which has a Japanese violin sounds, the stem, and it has to those artistic qualities. Well, first of all, I was stunned because I may be good, but I don't know all the 500 songs by heart. I know maybe a few hundreds of those, and what that told me, what the question told me was that I needed to be able to characterize the music, characterize each song to facilitate access in this manner to a certain and artistic manner. So the basic idea I had at the time was to listen to as much music as I could and come up with keywords. What does this make you think of? And what I came up with was on keywords, and I didn't restrict myself. There could not be a wrong answer. So the song makes me think of, I don't know, actually, well, that's personal, and it may not be the case for somebody else, but it is something the case for me. So I did not censor myself at it. I put a category in each song which indicates certain keywords that allow me to retrieve a song according to a certain theme. And I asked my colleagues when they had the time to listen to the music, to characterize the music as best they could with their own feelings. So that's a way to mine our music catalog. Okay. Another need was to share music scores without any implementability. What I mean by that is that when we mount a show of some we hire a composer, of course, And he produces scores for mostly 30 songs per show that we produce. And of course, in the lifespan of the show, musicians come and go. And musicians need to learn the music fast. And I would always get calls like, do you think you send me the violin scores for the Berlin show? I could do that. There was no problem, but it was always a pain to retrieve the scores and preparatory for that. Transform them in PDF and send them in time and other has to do. So what I did was put the scores in the SharePoint report, and I just think the URLs into each article, some article. So that was one way to do it, and the added benefit, of course, of security, because those scores must not come they are privileged information. So I focused on security reasons for all those who access the scores. And lastly, of course, share music knowledge about the music. Okay. The way I built our database into Wiki is that each the basic knowledge of course is based on each song is the subject of a selected article, which means a corporate one. I have to do that on the first article. Mirroring information with other systems. First of all, I should tell you that certificate contains part of this those only artistic information. Yeah, other values contains administrative information or monetary information. So, but I use certificate to make sure that I have the right quantity of songs in either database. So if I see that in my other database that it's about 25 songs, means that I have 25 and one song. Along the way. Okay, I have artistic information, permanent lyrics, language, one or more sound recording, and as I said earlier, subject to that word. So I'll show you one of those articles. Okay, this is a song. And you will see that that's what I meant when we're on the brink of going to another show. Because when we're dealing with this kind of quantity, 25 or more songs, and we have several hundred expressions each year, just the basic aspect of data entry is annoying. So we need to develop forms to and package more efficiently the knowledge that is in each of these articles. And you will see that the narrative that they use is somewhat more. So that's why we need something more about than standard we need something which I think like wiki that will be able to help us. So first of all, you have the corporate warning, really important. It just says that well, the information from within can be that next MRI is the mirroring information. This is just an index which tells me that the song is song number 173 to database. Find it easily. B per minute, or that's not the only concept, is the, well, if you're not visually inclined, it's the number of pulse sessions per minute that you hear. The kid is the person who writes the song and published by what year. That's only is the company of Second which handles music copyrights. Okay, and this is one next step. I asked David if I could have a video. Yeah. Different versions. We need to, because of course you can design music as much as you can, as much as you want in words. At some point you have to know it intimately. You have to recognize the music, and you have to recognize all versions of the music because there might be problems coming up like infringement, in commercials, movies. So it happens often that we'll get an email from a fan telling us, okay, I've heard your music TV show in Italy, and okay, so we the link, I'll listen to it, and most of the time I can recognize the music from memory, but often I can't. So this is a way for me to compare what's being heard in the video or whatever with what's in the database in the wiki. Instrumentation, like you can see, the fields and FME and use multi-count. So not all the restrictions have been documented so far. Now, which means language, what in language the song is sung. Gomlo is a genetic language that are similar used. You might not know this, but most of the songs, or I should say several of the songs of SMWCon are not sung in any language. They're not French, English, German, it's gibberish. And we are paying for that language. And you can see here that in the section which I call metadata, is in English metadata. I built some, tags. It's dance. It's not the case with what you heard, but if I give you this version, you'll see what I mean when I say dance. This is the same song, actually. It's a heavily remixed version of the first song, but it's the same song. So that's one way to retrieve song information, add the tags to the record. And of course, we have the lyrics, how many times, a blurb about its course, really important pieces. And we have a comment about the style of this, which I'll discuss further on. And I have links to other section of the wiki. And this is a problematic part for me, because I've been using step here for the better part of 4 years, and I know what works and what doesn't work so well. And the reason why I think we need to go semantic. Okay, a song might be used in more than one project. Might be used, well, first of all, it's used in the show for each discussion, and then a CD stuff that should be commercialized. And the visual product within the DVD can be commercialized as well. And the song might be used in other projects of this way. So we need to know in what project or products the song is used. So, okay, I've added links below here about the show. The song is already in the show. So here, this article describes that I know when shows. The history of the show, brief synopsis, the characters in the show, the description of the actors in the show, the creation team, and here we have the music sheet of the show itself in order, which can be reordered alphabetically by alphabetic tag, by song title, on the CD. And that's something also, because when the composer writes the music for a new show, most of the time he doesn't have the time technical title. Okay, song A, song B, song C, so on, and or the song might be temporarily titled according to the application within which it's played. So we have a slew of unofficial titles even before the show is over. So we have track, label track, sung by several, also known as titles, and this is a problem. In this case, in this grid here, you will see that titles within the show. Okay? Within the show, the songs are known by a certain title. On the CD, which is this column here, we have the same song known as other titles. I don't, in this case, I will be able to show you if there are different titles. Another, a better example would be maybe another show. Let's go with this one here. Okay. You can see abduction has moved forward of the CD. Number one, which is known as Train One on the CD. It's the same song. Uh, the list on the show is known as Moonish or Mutation. No, that's new one. It's that. So let's get back to. So we have the basic thing, and then you just heard earlier we have I attach rich content with the article and the audio. If you not overview, I touched anything regarding that. PF, I was talking about scores, music scores, and the SharePoint. SharePoint things, so I touched on that. Okay, about data organization. This is a problem that I found. First of all, you should know that I, I think I'm a technical person. I come from a technical background, but I work in music copyright. So um, most of what I develop within the wiki is by my own intuition. So we have ways of navigating the knowledge base, which is by categories, of course, about those. Song might be a show. The show is a category which is an intellectual product, and so on. Navigate vertically. And you can navigate horizontally also via info boxes, or chronological releases, chronological show launches. Let me show you something about categories, which might elicit some comments from you guys. What's going on here? I think it's because of lack of identity.
Sorry, can you pause?
Sorry?
Pause.
5 minutes? Oh, okay, sure. Oh, let's try some more. Okay, this song here. Okay, it works. No? You can see we have some what I call category overload. Okay, of course, this is a song. We call it we started organized for work. Characterizing instrumental music now. This song can be part of a movie, and it's been part of a movie. It's a song which was composed for the Shoya. It's been used in the movie, the movie. It's been used in the documentary. In my mind, in my view, a category should be just a bag in which you dump article. So I have to work on that. And, but at the same time, I still have to retain the ability to link the song to those projects. So it's a thing that I think a tool like Wikidata will be able to help me do. So just to show you something else. most of you are familiar. I don't know what actually is, but anyway. Okay, you have the info box in there? Basic information about how to cover all this is the important. What was the development for that part? Okay, so let me try. All those data, okay, you're finding the VDR right now. Okay. It's painstaking to enter that, and I think again that Wikidata or some similar tool would be more appropriate to formalize that knowledge. So let's, okay. Okay. Retrieve information. Of course, the information we found has to be properly formatted. So, what I did was several protocols to enter data. This is about sometimes. You see that this is more a guide than article. A prescription to properly format some type of within sorry. So we have all these rules to follow to properly enter titles. I won't bore you with those, but I have several protocols to enter some recurring data like songs and shows and keywords. I talked about that. That was to describe songs. Education, we talked about that too. I talked about category overload. I should show you that one in the this. Back in 2010, before I was aware of the SMWCon, I was doing research in regard for ways to better formalize data within the wiki, and this is what I think. Okay, let's keep it. This is just an example, so that's why I'm going to this sample just to show you. I have good intentions, but okay. Where's the sample? Okay, I see. Yeah, sure. I'll just show you. No, it works. Okay. So, all that. Well, here's the code. I'm not afraid to learn new things, technical things, but also all this code just to be able to do that, and I have to do that for 500 something. So there has to be a better way, and funnily enough, I learned that about that about the same time as I was trying to do that. So I put it on the back burner and waited for a little bit to become more robust. And it's more robust, meaning language framework required for songs, easier even to require ability to become storage required. This is basically where we're at now. And wiki data is presently being deployed. We're switching servers, and I've asked our IT team to actually get it, and I'll be able to go forward with this. Uh, and that's the reason why I'm learn from what others have done so far. Exactly. Sure. Yeah, well, your presentation yesterday was an eye-opener, I should say. But Marcus was convincing as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
You would agree with it?
I think I would, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, having this data, one of the days I hope to develop interest on the music because these maybe even though
it's going to remain private. That's the.
I think that would be
No, I meant wiki data.
that's why one way we can do
Well, I might be stuck with my concept. Okay.
But yeah, I can let you go in one thought that I have when I thought is that we do people this the part of the data that is more exciting by using something that regular visualization that we these are
Right, but I don't see how visualization of music is, well, maybe I like the imagination, but
okay, I mean, we use as much but maybe something that we never see from
okay.
But it seems to me that we use a lot of this way, even if the tables, these are true, and there's nothing that we use, and this is what people is perfectly fine. So I'm not saying we should take it going to up to that, that's my point, but right now I think the usual path is quite appropriate.
No.
It of course depends on how you want to address it, but for me here to find people who can provide all of the if you take this it's more like for the future and try to find out.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, a lot of you a lot of time meaning to build a conventional view at that time. So not what we're going to make, and I think one of the challenges that we have is how do we make it, how do we incorporate those semantics in written.
Yeah.
And
By myself.
if you're patient and you invest a lot of time, and you do like that, interesting things, interesting pieces you have some tools or maybe
Yeah.
proceed
No, I see what you're saying.
or easily incorporate
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it always exists, but you have another thing especially not that maybe right under
They are. I make sure that they are. Anyone?
How did the secretary get started? Was it the top-down decisions or implemented or someplace?
Well, that's a question I can't answer. My feeling is that it was more from down to the top rather than the contrary. We had the knowledge architect, which was very versatile. More than that, I would say his name is Arsenal, but the name might ring a bell on some of you. He had a quite a degree. I was on very good terms with Jacques. It's a actually that we have but I think it was mostly the initiative within SIP. It was a pet project.
I think you're lucky that your data is so organized and ready to make it all easy. The amount of volume to people that have really a lot of data that is unorganized. So when everybody behind it, that is not difficult.
Well, I think in back in mind, I was already thinking of the future because it's all. We found that going from database to database, it's so painful, importing, exporting data that sometimes the only option is to, re-enter it and. Yes.
So you're talking about really becoming wrong and be very strategic about most of that.
Yes. Exactly.
After that, you are still least put down. So I'm having participate and wondering what you see as the biggest
Marketing, internal marketing also. The obvious obstacle at first was the very, very limited number of persons who could do this in security data. And I thought really hard to make sure that this is broken down. If I wasn't the guy in charge, and if you want this to work, you have to make it. By definition, it's not perfect. You render some piece of data, some piece of knowledge in it. It's bound to be totally right at the first time. Okay? So you have to trust that the legal principle is going to work in the long term. So beyond that, it's just marketing in social or within any organization. I can show you something. It's I'm not a just one moment. Okay, this is the extranet, the portal of the extranet. Okay, that was mail, alternatively, and the portal, and writing on the certificate. So just a bit visible when you are outside your system because you don't provide access to this when you're at work. Okay, point. So that's it. No problem.
I think I need the magic deck here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to talk about Mega Data Viewer. It's like it's something I originally created in 2015. Others have contributed to it since. It's open source. It uses a lot of JavaScript, a little bit of PHP, and it's supposed to be a generic viewer for structured data. You can find out all about it at megadb.com. Just go quickly through this. The main theory behind it is what I call the data is data theory, which means that all data can all the data is essentially the same in that you can figure out how to display it correctly just from the set of data itself, the data schema, i.e. the types associated with it, and that's pretty much it, plus a few display settings. So I'll show you how this works in action, but the idea is if you just have the data and don't know anything about the knowledge domain that consists of, you can still do a good job of displaying it and having an interface for it. So how does it work?
You had a blog about the data as data?
Yes. I think it's on the WikiWorks blog. If you go search for WikiWorks and data is data, you can find it. Yeah, but yeah, I still believe in whatever there. I think. So the idea is you have your structured data, you put it all in CSV files, and then you have a small .ini file that defines the data schema, and that's it. Media is good to go at that point. It also comes with some peripheral stuff to let you create those CSV files from Semantic Media Wiki, from info about data from Media, mostly to or squared Wikipedia itself, and then also for Wikidata. And I'll show you demos of those. And then, based on just that CSV and INI stuff, and a few potential optional settings, it creates an app-like interface, including various visualizations. So here's a sample schema file. This is for an actual demo. This is for the data Japanese edition from Wikipedia. You have here on the left a set of fields, and on the right the type of each one, and in some cases there are lists of values, which is equivalent to the array mapping in semantic forms. So let's. Okay. Oh yeah. One more thing, but it works offline and it's mobile friendly. It stores all its data on the browser using a technology called WebSQL, which some people frown upon, but it's actually amazing. On most browsers out there, you can actually put a database inside the browser, and at that point you can work offline and it will still all be there, accessible extremely quickly. And you can even, shut down the computer and start it up again, it'll still be there. It also stores code within the browser, so the whole thing can work offline. The whole thing works on all major browsers, including mobile devices, except for IE and Firefox. So how big an issue that is let's look at some examples. So let's see. So here's the jazz musicians one. Again, this is all the data's in the browser. It got it all from a CSV file that was scraped from Wikipedia, and that schema thing shows. So I can filter now. This is basically every jazz musician in Wikipedia. I can filter based on their instrument. I can filter based on the year they were born. And this is not hitting the server at this point. This is all accessing all the data within the browser. So you all the files in the inventory. Let's see. People who were born in the 60s, for instance, guitar players born in the 60s. And then I can filter further on date information so I can find even the guitar player born in 1960 and see their genres and so forth. Of course, the few that are also classified as rock. So, the possibilities are fairly unlimited as far as the kind of things you can quickly find about the data, and a lot of this stuff is information that was literally impossible to get without, things on work before this. I mean, if you wanted to know who the people who were classified as rock and jazz guitarists born in 1960 was, and nobody had anything close to a comprehensive list. They were taking a tremendous amount of research, even with access to Wikipedia, unless you do all this scraping and then create all this stuff. So that's the basic idea. Let me see. Let me show you some other examples. Here's an example demo that's fictional, non-human dots from Wikipedia. I just wanted to show this because it lets it. You could also like create a custom start page to explain stuff that's about our the elephant. And same thing here. You can put it based on all this stuff. And this is all available. You can do it all at mediadd.com/demos. What else did I want to show? Briefly, there was a discussion before about being able to filter on properties of properties. There's one example here from the Discourse TV. This is the wiki I run of political opinions. So items are editorials and columns that appear in newspapers and magazines. They have, of course, if you off the source statement topic. I don't need to get into all the details here. Basically, every item has an opinion on a topic, so that the opinion on that topic is property of a property. So let me see. This is Obamacare. This is abroad. Israel, pretty controversial. Let me pick something. Here's the stimulus. So once you have a topic selected, then it lets you keep going, even though these are again properties of properties. It does all that work, so you can see all the ones that express some opinion on whether they actually have passed, and then you can keep going and find the ones that are for it and against it, or mixed on the subjects, and then read through each one if you want. This is all taken from semantic media research, so it uses the header script that comes in pre-built to do the mask query right at the beginning to figure out the necessary CSV files, and then from that point on, media takes over and just treats it like with any other data set. Right. What else did I want to? Oh yeah. So the map. This is parks, also straight from Wikipedia, and it takes all the geographical coordinates that are stored in the info box for each park. This gets using clustering Google Maps to make it run a little faster, which is kind of annoying because it's really hard to get down to points that you can find individual points, and then again you can do filtering and it'll affect the maps. So for instance, if I want to find just all the largest parks in Wikipedia, I can keep filtering down to everything that's 8,000 acres and thousands, and get a specific entries. So 11,000 acre park in Pakistan, and that's the map will show eventually. Maybe it's okay. And there's similar stuff for calendars, but you can guess with that. So that's all been in place for a while, even though the software is getting improved all the time. The most recent thing, I was originally going to present this with Joel Natividad. He unfortunately couldn't make it. He's from onto Dia, who got a contract to create this site called Communities Connect for the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program. The idea is it provides learning materials to local people around the world, I guess mostly in third world countries or whatever you want to call them, global stuff or something. The challenge which they presented a few months ago to deal with is to provide a browsable searchable interface for a large set of PDFs, videos, etc. So they wanted something done quickly, so the solution was to use media. So here is, here is the current URL. I don't know how long this will stay up at current location. They created it with some assistance from me. It required some customization, especially to the CSS, but also they added a bunch of features which I'm hoping to merge back in. Some of them are really cool. So this is it. This is all media. They did a whole bunch of custom HTML and CSS to get this in, but I really like the look of it now. But this is it's the same code powering, it's the same interface. So here we have all the set of PDFs and videos, and you can, as before, filter it down based on various things. So, filter down based on theme or region or whatever it is, and relevant things. And yeah, it even does video display and using HTML5 video, which is really cool. Yeah.
Those images and HTML5 are also stored in the browser?
That is one of the things that they added. In this case, yes, they're doing caching on all of that stuff. That's not a standard media feature, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to get their code and do that. Yeah, I mean, there's limits to how much you can put in a browser, obviously, but they managed to get a lot in. I mean, there's I think they're caching the video. They're definitely caching the thumbnail images. It's really just a function of the router, and it depends on the device. If you're on a laptop, it's different from a cell phone. So how does this tie into semantic media wiki? Well, it draws a few things from semantic media wiki. The types, just as we saw with Wikidata, this is another thing that sort of copies its conception from semantic media wiki. There's text, number, there's what is called here entity, which corresponds to the semantic media wiki page. If you have more than one table, you can have a column that points to a column in another table, so that's a simple entity type. The internal data storage is based very much on semantic media wiki's own SQL storage. It stores everything as triple, which makes things querying really flexible. And the browsing interface is heavily based on semantic filter. The idea of filter 1, filter 2, filter 3, etc. How can it help semantic media in the future? Well, most obviously, it provides a mobile interface for semantic media data. One of the is for CD one uses data from SMW-based site. So potentially any SMW-based site, if you want a quick mobile interface and you want to get involved in app development and all of that, you just want to wait for users to be able to quickly get at this information from their phone in an offline way, then this provides a way to do that. It suggests various ways to improve the interface. Right now, semantic media and related extensions they're not that smart in terms of sensing things, in terms of guessing at what the user will want. I mean, if you have a class, you have a template that has a field type coordinates, chances are quite good that you're going to want that the wiki would benefit from having a map showing all the points from that class, from that category. So it makes a lot of sense to provide that automatically, and same thing with counters for dates. There are various ways in which the interface can be improved, and whether that should go into semantic media wiki or semantic drill down or into some other extension. I don't. There are various ways to do it. But certainly, it would make a lot of sense to provide that kind of thing. So just as we learn from semantic media wiki and semantic drill down, there's a reversal as well. And then finally, it could potentially replace semantic media wiki for some instances if people are using semantic media only for its viewing capabilities, only for the visualizations and all that, but aren't actually using it for data entry, i.e. they're just importing everything into it and potentially keep importing stuff to refresh it. This is potentially a replacement.
Yeah, I think all people do it, it's kind of like
right.
Some of it kind of solid. Seems like a kind of natural thing to get into that, and then play into
potentially. The difference there's a few differences, just in terms of caching storing all the information on the browser versus querying the SMW every time. I don't know. Semantic media can hold a lot more data. I mean, an unlimited amount of data, give or take. Where this is, limited by the browser and the device. You could put, it's just JavaScript, so you could embed it within a wiki page. I don't know how well that would work. I don't know.
I think most people were writing the sentences for it would still be solved with machine learning.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I guess that's it. Yeah, question.
So, how do I start?
Right.
The MediaDB.
Yes. Yeah. The code is all open source. I'll start on GitHub, and you can download it. And after you download it, it's just a matter. I mean, there's instructions. You basically just need to populate the directory called apps, and here I can actually show you. Let's see, how do I do this? Oh yeah. You can actually see everything here on the back end that's powering it. This is the contents of the apps directory, and there's a whole bunch of stuff here. But for instance, what was that? The jazz one, the jazz musicians one. I just put this in a directory called jazz, and this is even more than is needed. Really, this is the key thing. That it's just a big CSV file, and then you can also see the schema here that it uses. This is just at the logo. This is just the file that was used to create CSV in the first place. It's really just 3 files, and one of them is a logo that's needed to power this app. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm hoping to, even when usage picks up, I'm hoping that there'll be something, a much smaller scale version of what exists for MediaWiki or MediaWiki or any other software with the community in place and support and all that. But I can certainly answer any question that yeah.
The media doesn't have to be installed on the same system where you run your wiki.
Oh no, absolutely not.
I don't have access to that wiki to create.
Yeah, I mean,
export the CSVs.
Right. Yeah. You do unfortunately need to have PHP. You can't just put it somewhere and just have the JavaScript running. That's for yeah. Oh yeah, it comes with a few different it comes with a few different helper PHP files. I mean, in theory, anyone can just create CSV from any Excel spreadsheet or something. It comes with a few PHP files. One can let you do wiki/Wikipedia scraping. Oh, I want to show the Wikidata one. No, I mean, it just has to be a CSV file, and then you have to have a separate file that says this field, this column, is of this type, and so on. Oh yeah, I just wanted to show, just because we're talking about Wikidata and stuff. Here's countries from Wikidata. You can see, the you can filter down by language. Apparently, English is the most popular official language, and so forth. Yeah, it's pretty neat to just go through just this set of data. It's cool to be able to do all this stuff and see all the packages show up. Data. Cool. Right. Thank you.
there again at the end of the day, like as I was yesterday. I can relate a lot with the talk that you said because I did a conversion, 14 of them. Basic wiki, organization, we start with wiki and then we have to see there's a lot of way to do that, but make fun of the number of people able to that's a big issue. The resource for that issue. But I want to okay. Yeah. Yeah. It all started last year when our friend of released the comment invited us to okay, yeah. Just go. Our friend of us invited the next comment project in Montreal. We are doing documentaries on the notion of commons. Invited us to a conference in Berlin, and Berlin, the conference was named Economics and Commons Conference. The third one in Berlin. And I put out us, you know, there, and people want us to be there. We discuss about communication issues around commons, this is the concept, and we met with a lot of people from all around the world who are working on the concept of commons. And we met with people, one of the main points we found that there is a lot of wiki in that world. There's a lot of wiki among people working on commons. The commons sharing, issue of sharing, the wiki is the main tool we use to share information among them. We met people from that big wiki, American and those people were there, and how do you do it? There is a website shareable. These are the kind of people to share information about the way you can build your own device or tool accounts and great things. There's people are the kind of way you can build those things and use those technologies to make the change in work. And they said to us, yeah, that we see, but we were trying to work and speaking with them, we learned that they are also connected with that wiki. You can see the tech-based wiki, the front of us, they want to. And this is how we were trying to manage that content. So that wiki got a big issue. There was a lot of spam on it, and the guy who organized it was hired, and he decided to just make the weekend hold, but he got information from it. They are trying to figure out to get all the content in their wiki. And we also learned that we also met with another friend of us who is very important, Michel, to drive that PTP Foundation. And this is the wiki and PTP Foundation. This is the big wiki. This is the main wiki about commons, on peer-to-peer commons. Shows not in Ecuador is doing a big event next week about how to transform the economy of Ecuador in open knowledge. This is a big project there, but the information is the one. Once you learn about commons, this is it. And Michel was at the conference and was the organizer. And also there, trying to figure out a way to manage to get more information or analyze the information. And lastly, we got the next puzzle trying to document the question of time. Those four wikis started semantic media and stuff. That's those four wikis got a lot of information, interesting information about commons, the way they can understand concept, the example of concept, and we're trying to figure, we got that conference, we see for four wikis not connected, not able to go forward with maybe a wiki, bridges between them. Not especially only getting information from one wiki, but just making the page. I'm talking about a phase now here, trying to figure out to do that information now. We want to get all four wikis sometimes connected, they bring all the information together, or maybe interlevel, maybe you see the point. But there, we got for a big community, people will make it. If there are still working with you, maybe sometimes so maybe this is a big, large organization, big, large community, but emerging community. So looking at this is the next, this is a simple approach that we started. They just started with the same for foundation. We start and start. So we went there. My question, the question that we did, that question, how do we, what are the strategies to go forward in those that situation? Naturally, with a lot of information, we start to figure the idea that we can provide more and more strong and robust way to information to help the sharing, and we're there. So this is not only Manga. In the larger movement of commons, people are starting to get the lessons. We'll show you two projects who are trying to figure out how to characterize, how to make sense around that concept. But they start to do analogy, they start to categorize. So the two examples, one is around the people in Germany. They want to, there's a movement to maps, to making map of the commons. And another one in the OpenStreetMap, there is that first essay to create a vocabulary to map what is commons, what for what. There is that part of it. And this is the same page that that was your project. That one. That one. This is the one of the network based in the United States and Europe. And they also start to categorize. So on that side, there's energy there. There's people who are starting to make what we call ontology, vocabularies, non-vocabularies. And we're able to make this people maybe up. That's a part of the problem. Going back to we have a few issues that are out there. The first one is how to make people go back to the routine starting with building this small set of information and get that bootstrap now. The community is out there, it's ready to work, but we need that to do that. The second point is how the question of multi-language issues, cultural issues, cultural adaptation. In the case of Ecopedia, the Ecopedia is about 7 language. Language. How do we manage that connection? Yeah, and work with vocabulary, but also how do we do that idea? The common sense, figure out language. That's a little point. We can manage that. And maybe the last one is how we can build how do we train people to be autonomous in using the building with the team? This is how we can manage to get them to get along and make it a week and work with that and show that we get time and stay with it and get more knowledge from it. That's where we're at, and that's the question I have for you. I want to see that this is for us now a good what we call a place where we want to live. But we need to provide some kind of leadership in that place now, because all those people are not. How do you do that? How do you manage? This is the same question as Jimmy talked about. Same person, but out there with a lot of people, a lot of work. So this is another dimension. We are the same problem, and we need to take policies and make them using this technology to be more useful for it. That's my question. When you look at that, that is how. Yeah.
Actually, so the consistency between political policy and getting better in who wanted to compare when we put people in the activities and property. So the first thing from the mind,
Yeah.
okay, let's do there's more people that come out of because they're often one to two. I think that would be very one way to make it. Yeah. Political organizations want to maintain their own personal leaders, or are they open to combining like into others?
Which they are on collaboration. You got done. You don't want to want to be bothered with your partner. But they're really collaborate. They move the movement of all common demand versus to go with communicate that this is common. The activities of all the question alternative money back in time. You want to share that this is the world. This is those are examples. We are always showing that this is what in Africa we have that this is that example of alternative money. And we have got article with a blog post on the foundation about that. And analytical theory there, and got some example of with people do that in learning and in learning village. The little that is particular issue is about multimedia around, but we need to teach that that's a good job. That's where we think that they are really coming some work on sustainability, but you need to give them that's it. Makes sense what to do. If you have got any idea of your and I can do that to the people with them. Well, I don't know why the funding side is quite okay. There's not a big issue of ownership or investment. It's pretty much there for the you want to get right? The people, the government, and I think it's very hard. Maybe put more of your policies in over. You're not going to get or something in this part. And then how can you decide that happen? I just wanted to. Yeah, I mean, you know,
You have the same traffic control on the traffic scenery.
That's another feature.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Wikipedia has a model as well because they have they all just try to sense, they're saying web is not so it's a really tough one to share on all of them.
Is there a need somewhere that the method puts sort of more structured data would help me, or is it mostly just a different way around it?
I should to for example, before talking, you feel the need there. You're trying to figure out how to organize that information. That's where there. The rules before I got maybe 6 years of gathering information to trying to figure out
Well, okay, but sometimes people just like to build something. I don't know, it seems like it would be a good thing. But if there's no one on the other end who's saying, hey, we really need this, you know what I mean? That will drive the vision. So I feel like that helps with the effort.
Yeah.
Unless I'm building into a bit of that.
I don't think that's the case. I think that's the conference and seeing the people there, and they're only great for information, for examples, for having more documentation to provide the example to the action trying to get creating comments or other comments work, the governance part, the law.
Yeah, you can do that. Now, sure, with Wikipedia was like it's all there. And it's just a question of taking links and categories and mailboxes. But if there's a real sort of discovery issue, or there's real kind of structured data, I don't want to, I need to do analysis. I feel like that. Because I mean, I know that I've been involved in several like build out some semantic software. There's not anybody asking for it. It's just something cool. So we stop it. It's not helping anyone. So it seems like the alignment and I don't know, the alignment is a bigger issue.
But I think both can play at the same time. We can make sure that we both create the vocabulary and figure out what is the field that's the main point of the conference to align field. And then now we're trying to go to tags in this case. So that's a good start to try with actual content. And you got to see if the knowledge work. Do we cover all the aspects? And that's a good part of it. This is a experiment. We got that tools to play a bit now. But we also need to get sure that people who are really skeptical about the semantic possibilities, possibly discovery or connecting stuff. But that is the case is that you need convincing to provide kind of path for them to gain kind of confidence and yeah, that works at the time to tag different that's the program. We're trying to figure out what we do to create the best opportunity to bootstrap something around it.
Maybe use my phone and it really depends on what you think out about because I consider very successful now. A couple of people didn't know how it worked. And some people think people need to So in that, this is very much find some way to probably yeah.
So, that's it for the first part of the day. But there's one more event, the special event, which starts in roughly 1 hour. So, on the local page, you'll find instructions on how to get to the place. So, please tell you. So, where we're going is a nice small facility. In the left quarter, not the parking here, on the block. You can see what the main event will consist of. So you have two adults, not sit on the like small pass out. So not go each people. So if you want to go from here, you'll find the link on the local information page, but it's really not too far from here. The simplest way probably is to take metro. Right now we are here, from Korea station, and you would go to the Ikon station. Make sure you take the right exit, the one that goes to the area. No, exit going to Song. Questions already?
One question on the invitation. I forgot my I want to see all things and I promise to see that we bring it to after. And another of the board is you
Okay, so I wasn't experienced with the directions. So I said you should go to the Metro Valley first, and then you'll have to walk up on Stonegate for 2 blocks roughly. Takes about 5 minutes to walk, go in the right direction. So it's really not too far. You could also take a bus or a bike, but they typically go somewhere else and take the metro where you come. Once you are there, at the facility, make sure you go to the top floor, because that's where you're going to be located. And yeah, B30, you have a lot of food, so make sure you're ready for it. So see you in 1 hour.
So you're sure you don't have a dog?
No, just a minute.